Hello, my name is Bradley Bailyn, and it's a pleasure to meet you. A lot of times people come to me and they're like, oh, I don't know. I feel so bad. Should I file bankruptcy? For the past 10 years, I've been trying to pay my debts, but it's just not working. The reality is that for most people who come in, something happened. Either your kids got sick, you lost your job, a lot of people became disabled. And once that happens and there's a break in your ability to pay, then you go into default and these huge interest rates kick in on you and legal fees get applied and the amount that you owe gets so high that it's not even, let's be realistic here. It's not even possible for you to pay it. With that being said, let me tell you for a minute how this kind of thing works. Basically, most people who file bankruptcy, unless you have a mortgage that's in default, and then we're going to need to do a more complex bankruptcy. But for people who are not trying to compel the bank to restructure a mortgage that they are otherwise capable of paying for, it's a relatively simple process which takes 1 to 3 months. Usually you start making payments for whatever we agree the fee is going to be. And then as soon as you've finished making your installment payments, if you can't pay it in one shot, then we go ahead and we file the bankruptcy. I need to collect the funds first because otherwise I'd be filing bankruptcy on myself. Everybody asks me this. So that's typically the way that it works. And so as soon as we file, typically within 30 days, they set what used to be a hearing at the court and is now a teleconference where I call in and you call in and they go through the financial paperwork that I filled out with you and they just confirm that you read what's in there and that everything in there is truthful. And if that's what they find, then they make a determination that you have no assets that are available to your creditors. Again, this is assuming the more simple form of bankruptcy. And from there, you get formally your debts to be dismissed within the next 2 or 3 months. But the nice thing is that in the meanwhile, you get something known as the automatic stay, meaning that from the day we file your bankruptcy, nobody can do anything to try and collect money from you. Meaning if a garnishment has been placed on your account, then the garnishment needs to come off your account. If they've been making harassing telephone calls, they need to stop making harassing telephone calls. If they filed a lawsuit, they can't continue pursuing that lawsuit. Whatever it is that your creditors are doing to collect from you, they legally are required to stop doing that. One of the really nice things about bankruptcy is that with limited exceptions, it's a clean sweep, meaning that not only do you get rid of most or all of your credit card debt and medical debt and stuff like that, but you can give a whole list of debts that you haven't even been sued on yet, that you don't know if you'll ever be sued on it. Debts that potentially could relate to a business that didn't work out where you're not sure if they're going to sue you personally. You can list debts that are not yet due, and all of that stuff can get wiped out. So it's totally a fresh start. Another question people ask me is, how long does this stay on your credit report? And the answer is, depending on which kind of bankruptcy we file, it stays on for 8 to 10 years. However, being on your credit report does not cause your credit to necessarily be low. And most people who take their duty to be responsible with their money seriously end up with pretty decent credit after maybe 2 years out from having filed their bankruptcy. And usually within 3 years, you can have your credit score back over 700, a lot of times even sooner, if that's what you want to do. So it's really misleading when people read that it's 8 to 10 years and they think that there's some kind of credit prison. Also, employers are not allowed to discriminate against you based on having filed bankruptcy. So unless you work in the finance industry where there's a separate set of criteria that they use typically you don't have to worry about having job problems as a result of filing. Lastly, I've been a consumer lawyer for a long time now, and a lot of times you don't necessarily need to file bankruptcy. There are other solutions we can find, and if there are, I will, I'll help you with it. We're not going to file unless it's what we need to do. Nowadays, because of this whole Corona thing, a lot of people are like, wow, everyone is going to be filing bankruptcy. I should sell bankruptcy. And paralegals, lawyers who have been practicing real estate for the last 10 years, everybody is calling themselves a bankruptcy lawyer. And the reality is, your experience can be easy or it can be miserable, depending on the level of comfort and understanding that the person who's doing it has with the court. Your creditors don't always react well to this kind of thing. And it's also helpful when someone understands the full picture of what could happen and what's likely to happen. So, all things being equal, you're really better off working with somebody like myself who was practicing bankruptcy during the quote-unquote bull market out of a real genuine desire to help the consumer who's been doing it a little while. All right? So at any rate, I'm happy to do a free consultation. You can give me a call at 646-326-9971, 646-326-9971, or you can text me to set up a time at that number too. And let's talk. Until then, be well.